Serious, what's the hardest thing you've had to say to someone? Told my mother she would no longer be a part of my life or my kids' lives. They are better off for it. Keep being strong. Thanks. It's been 12 years and counting. She's a toxic narcissist, and the final straw was her saying something incredibly demeaning to my youngest daughter during a 2-week vacation on the beach that I was 100% funding. I immediately put her ass in a cab back to the airport and have not seen or spoken to her since. Definitely difficult, but my life is so much better now. Telling my dad on the phone that my mom was dead. They hadn't been together for almost 20 years, but they were still good friends and loved each other very much. She was the first woman he ever loved. Their marriage just wasn't good. I had to call him as soon as he got to work. I asked him if he could come by my house, and he asked what was wrong, and I said, "Mom's dead." I was still in shock. The sad and defeated "oh my god" he said over the phone broke my heart. It didn't fully hit me until he pulled up and I just collapsed in his arms. It was awful. Worst morning of my entire life. I had to tell my friend's mom that I shat my pants while watching a scary movie when I was at my friend's place. It was so hard to tell her. I kept talking about something else every time when I went to tell her. Seriously. I had to tell my husband, whom I love more than life itself, second only to my children, that he couldn't come home until he seriously started making some good decisions about his problem drinking and his life. I miss him desperately. Goodbye to my mum. Had to tell my grandfather that we'd just gotten done talking with the palliative care doctors. That means they are not trying to save you anymore, but keep you comfortable until you die. That was really hard. I miss you, Pop Pop. My grandfather had time to say goodbye. He had kidney failure and ultimately opted out of dialysis. So we knew it was coming, and he had great hospice care for his final days. That being said, on the day he passed, I had to call and tell my mom, his daughter. I was 15. I also had to help wheel the gurney with his body to the hearse to be taken to the morgue. I feel like that was the day my childhood ended and I became an adult. It was also strange in a way that he was here to escort me into the world and I was there to walk him out the door, so to speak. Technically a typed message. After I was assaulted, I blocked him on social media. After I had begun to process everything, about a month or so later, I unblocked him, sent him a message, and then blocked him again. More or less I wrote, "This is what you did to me. This is how it made me feel. I don't want an apology. Just please don't do it to anyone else." A lot longer and more eloquent, but that was the gist. Having to see his picture and our old messages. This was someone I had gone on 1 or 2 dates with before. Just took everything out of me and left me so exhausted. But because since it wasn't violent, he lived in the middle of nowhere, middle of the night, so I had nowhere to go, and I had already made it clear that I didn't want to sleep with him. So when he did it anyway, I just kind of protected myself by staying still. I had this thought in my head, what if he doesn't know what he did? What if I don't let him know? What if he does it to someone else? Then it'll be my fault. That's one of the hardest things, I think. It takes a lot of courage to stand up for yourself and say what happened to you. You are brave for trying to protect anyone else from what you experienced. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I had to tell an employee that he smelled and needs to improve his personal hygiene. I'm sure everybody else appreciated it. I have problems with my nose and had a family member approach me about this once. I was pretty mad about how they did it, but really wish somebody had said something sooner. If anything, it shows you care about his well-being. I had to tell my best friend that I think it would be better if we didn't talk to each other anymore. I've known this girl for over half my life. We go through a cycle where we are inseparable for a long periods of time, basically dating without sexual contact. I've fallen for her a handful of times, but we agree it's not right for us to be together. Eventually one of us will get a so, and we will lose contact until we are both single again. Every time this happens I basically go into depression and feel like I lost everything. We both are recently single and I can feel us coming back together, but I can't take going through the pain of losing my best friend again. I feel this, bro. I just hope it doesn't get to the point where we have to break contact. That's got to be one of the hardest things to go through. I'm a girl who was in this exact situation. We cut off contact 3 months ago, and I'm not going to lie, I'm still heartbroken. I love him and would have done anything for him, but he couldn't do the same for me. Lifestyle wise, we are not good for each other, but he was my best friend. Tearing up just writing this. I just don't see another solution other than losing contact, which sucks. I think about it daily, but I know that I'm better off without her, and I'm sure she is as well. What extra sucks is any of my ex-girlfriend or future girlfriend will still be compared to her, which I know is really bad. I feel like we are soulmates set on parallel paths that only ever come close enough but never cross. Not sure how to rank these. Telling my brother that our father died from a heart attack. Telling her mother that my wife died. I'm so sorry to hear that. Losing 2 of your closest friends and companions. People who you love so much. I hope you're doing okay now and you're happy. Death notifications. As a cop, I would ask the police deputy preacher to come along if available. People can burst into tears or cuss the dead and ask if they can take his truck. Some are suicidal, some go into shock and seem okay, but have to be hospitalized. We try to give specifics to help them understand. I explained to a nurse that the .22 bullet entered her husband's skull, bounced around inside. A .22 has enough velocity to get in but not to get out, making it more dangerous than higher calibers, and that it passed through his brain multiple times. Even most non-medical people would realize that is a fatal wound. But she asked, what does that mean? It happened when the dissident/husband showed up at her boyfriend's apartment to confront them both, except the boyfriend took the gun from the husband and killed him. It may sound ridiculous, but the hardest thing I've had to say is I cut myself. The most difficult thing was when, as a kid, I had to tell our neighbor that I had just seen his beautiful collie killed by a vehicle speeding through the neighborhood. I can still see the anguished look in his face. She was a wonderful dog that we both loved. The driver just smirked and sped off. I have a really hard time telling people that I don't like to be touched. Every time I've worked up the nerve, everyone acts like it's some deep personal insult I'm making just to be cruel. I've grimaced and panicked my way through far too many unwanted hugs, but somehow asking someone not to touch you makes you the bad guy. Oh, I get this so much. My family are all very huggy people and they get so offended when I don't reciprocate. They don't seem to understand that just because hugs and touching make me uncomfortable doesn't mean I love them any less.